Hey everybody, this is the Aggressively Medium podcast with Lee and Josh.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 39 of the Aggressively Medium podcast. I hope everybody out there is staying positive and tested negative. We have my good friend Heath Dunn here today. Lee is still out with unknown medical problems. He's sick, that's all we know. So he said it was bad. Whatever it is bad. And so we pulled in Heath Dunn to come back. He was on episode 8. If you listen that far back, if you don't, I ain't got nothing for you.
There was like 10 or 15 viewers at that point.
Nah, there's a good bit. There was, yeah, you had a good bit of views on that one. We'll try and break the record with this one, though. Yeah. And Heath is, if you don't know, Heath is a firefighter. Me and him met because somebody tried to hook me up with his cousin. It was initially how we met. And then I was like, I really don't know if I'll get along with her or whatever. And then I met Heath, and I was like, maybe I can make it work with her just so that me and Heath could be friends.
We should have just dated instead.
We should have. It probably would have worked out better for everybody if we would have dated. We'd probably be married. Yeah. This would be our house.
Man, that'd be all right.
That'd be all right.
Well, my cousin is married now, so...
Yeah. No hard feelings to that guy.
No.
Also, so this is like a little... We weren't going to talk about this. I have always told Meg that if she like dies tragically, I would probably never get married again. Mm-hmm. I would just like get a roommate.
What if she died and it wasn't tragic?
If it was like a fun way to die?
You said if she died tragically, you would
Well, if she died, it would be tragic.
Yeah,
if she died, it would be tragic. Okay, that's period.
Fair.
Yeah. But if she died in a fun way, I'd probably get married again.
Yeah. Sounds good, yeah. But I'm on the same boat. If my wife died, I'd probably be happier being single, living with another single guy.
Yeah.
Hopefully like another fireman, and we'd be on different shifts, and I have to see them
one day out of every 3. Yeah. See, I would prefer if the person that I was married to after, in the sense of having a house together, I would prefer them to be there every day.
Then be there every day.
Yeah. They can take care of the dog.
Yeah.
They can, do all that other stuff. And then when I come home, we've got 2 days to hang out and chill and like...
That's true.
Play poker or Xbox or something, whatever cool kids do nowadays that are single.
And I think that I would prefer my option better, but I'm in the mindset right now of I want alone time, but that might just be alone time because I'm married. Like if it was just bros all the time, I don't know if I'd want alone time as much,
How weird does that sound saying it out loud? If it was just a bunch of dudes around here, I would never want to be alone.
Yeah. But
the second you put a chick in here, give me some space, man.
Yeah. But if you're married, you understand.
Yeah. Well, there's also a statistic that says if you have a good marriage, that directly correlates to how fast you would get married again. Because it's like you're trying to like repeat that, like you're like, well, I knocked it out of the park the first time, other than them being dead now.
Yeah.
Which
that wouldn't be your fault.
Who knows?
If you had a good marriage.
It might have been.
That's true.
Texting and driving.
That's true. You know what? Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have to be like you murdered them.
No, you wouldn't have to murder them. You could, but you wouldn't have to.
Well, I think I've got a good marriage.
Yeah,
but I still wouldn't jump right back into it.
Yeah. Well, there's always, there's statistics, and then there's, it wasn't 100% that every person that had a good marriage went and got married after that. But
I think our occupation as well makes it hard. It puts a stress on a marriage that a normal working 40 hours a week marriage doesn't have.
Yeah.
And people that aren't firemen or aren't married to a fireman, they'll never understand that.
Yeah.
Or any kind of occupation where they work 24 hours or they're gone for days at a time.
I will say this: I used to be the guy that was like, every third day, man, I get a break. I get to go to the fire station, get to hang out with some dudes. But now it's weird because now that we have the kid, I miss being home. I never thought, like, you hear about firemen who say, man, being home every night would be worth, being on days or going to another type of thing. And I never understood that. And then I had a kid and like pretty much every night I'm like,
yeah,
man, it would be nice to be, it's not like I'm going to change my career because I want to be at home more, but it would be nice.
I can see that. Man, and it doesn't mean there's not great times that you still have, because there's a lot of days where I feel the same way. I want to go to work because I like the guys I work with and we have a good time, but also, it'd be nice if I could do that and still sleep in my own bed every night.
Yeah, if they had like 10-hour shifts at the fire station.
Hey, in New York, they do
12-hour.
Yeah, a lot of the stations do that are in the city itself, and that would be great. Except for the fact that for that 12 hours that you were at work, you would be running calls nonstop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Also, the other there's a fire department in Florida in Boca Raton that does 24 on. So you have 1 day on and 3 days off.
That's what's up.
That would be. I mean, you'd be at work once a week.
Yeah. That would be the holy grail of fire department.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'd move there if I could. Yeah. If it wasn't going to be detrimental,
even if they didn't pay that much, to have the benefits of a fire department job.
Yeah.
And have 3 days off in between, you could do anything else you
Essentially, you could go work a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't even know you're a fireman.
No.
You'd just be like, oh, what's Steve taking off so much for? And be like, I don't know. The other day, though, my grandmother fell and he was there randomly. So I don't.
That makes you think, because I go to church with a guy who is a retired Tuscaloosa fireman, and he's been retired for 20-something plus years. Mm-hmm. And the whole time he was working at the fire department, it was 24 on, 24 off. 25 years of work one day and then be off one day. And he was a home builder on his days off. So it's a miracle that his wife still loves him.
Yeah.
But I just think about how much it's changed since, in 20 years, 25 something years, what it's going to be like before we retire or after we retire. I mean, we could be seeing a lot of changes, and so that you never know. Tuscaloosa and Northport.
Yeah, there might be one department before it's all said and done with.
That wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll bet on it.
Yeah.
But so last time you were here, there was something that was specifically told to us by the other co-host, Lee, that was, don't want to talk about anything nerdy.
Yep.
And you are probably one of the nerdier people that I know, but also not like not meaning that in a derogatory way.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree?
Because I agree that I try to present myself in a way to where
you wouldn't know that you've got
people wouldn't know it by looking at me.
You host a weekly Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
At your house.
Don't host a weekly Dungeons and Dragons, but I wouldn't be ashamed to tell everybody that I did if I was doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would be, but
but that comes with the territory of being self-secure and confident.
And I'm not at all.
Yeah.
I can admit that. But so I want to talk about The Mandalorian.
Okay.
It's a TV show on Disney Plus. If you haven't heard of it, it is following the Star Wars canon. And it is about a Mandalorian who's essentially a bounty hunter. And he finds like a little baby Jedi and is trying to get him back to the Jedi. And then the bad guys are trying to stop that from happening, which they do. Which first season I really liked. Second season, we're about halfway in right now. I'm really liking it. The newest episode was like a game changer for me.
Oh, yeah?
Like, it took it to another level because now it feels like a Star Wars story. Like before, it was like essentially every episode was the same to me. It felt like a video game. Like
you're doing missions or something.
Yeah, it was like a mission. Like the bounty hunter goes up to these people and he's like, have you seen any more Mandalorian? And they're like, we don't want to help you. And then they're like, but we will help you if you help us do this other thing. And then that was every single episode.
But then it never turns out.
It never really panned out.
It's one side quest that leads to another side quest that you're never progressing in the story.
Exactly. But
now we have, you think. Now
we are in an actual Star Wars story. Yeah. Now that Moff Gideon has gotten Baby Yoda or Grogu.
We'll get into that in a second, but
but now that he's taken him, and it actually feels like there is a developed plot at this point.
Yeah,
they're antagonists, they're protagonists. There's going to be this back and forth now. That it's going to be. I feel like the rest of the season is going to be leading into him getting Baby Yoda back.
Yeah.
So,
and man, to go off what you said about it feels like nothing really ever happened. I don't mind that in a TV show, especially when it's good, like The Mandalorian's been. It's entertaining, even if there's not a lot of story progression moving the story forward, because you're getting to know the characters more. It's just like any great sitcom where, I mean, that's all it is character development. There's no real storylines besides what's happening with the characters, like emotionally or whatever. But with The Mandalorian, so far, it's just been, who is this guy, this mysterious Mandalorian character, and who is Baby Yoda, and all these other, like, secondary characters.
Yeah.
And now that we've gotten to know them pretty well, they're finally progressing the story forward, and I like it.
I've really before last episode, it felt like a TV show that you could just pick up and put down.
Yeah,
like where it was
like a Western.
Yeah, it was like a Western. Like you could I'm gonna watch this week, but I don't have to watch next week because like I'm not gonna miss much. Yeah. And this has been the first week that I was like, I have to watch. Next
you
week.
Missed that. If you would have missed this past week's episode,
the next episode would be like,
you would have been like, what? Yeah, what happened?
Yeah.
And man, that's one of the things that I love about Disney too, is whenever they get their hands on something, they will use characters that have been in the Star Wars universe before. Like, they're not. They can pull from wherever they want to, because
like Boba Fett.
Like it's the same actor that played Jango Fett.
That was awesome. When he popped up and it was the same guy, I was like, heck yeah.
And obviously he's older now because those movies came out in the early 2000s.
Yep.
So the timing works out good. And the same thing with that Disney's producing an Obi-Wan show just like The Mandalorian. It's going to be a series of episodes.
Yeah.
And I love it. If they would have only done this well with the most recent trilogy of movies.
See, I enjoyed the most recent trilogy of movies.
I didn't.
I really did enjoy it because it felt like a natural progression. Like you had the first three were, this very like thriving, everything's going good for the most part. Like the galaxy was at ease. And then in the next three, there was this tension. And then in the last three, it was like the culmination of like, there's this tension versus, we still had the characters that we really enjoyed from the 4, 5, and 6. And it felt like that, it felt like a good movie franchise. Like separate from, you slap the name Star Wars on it, you don't slap the name Star Wars on it. To me, I would have enjoyed it either way.
Yeah. Well, I disagree.
That's fine.
And I see why you. It's not like I didn't enjoy them because it's Star Wars, and anything Star Wars I can get around. That's one of my favorite things. But it almost seemed like the whole trilogy was fan service to somebody. Like the first one was nearly a remake of the plot of the original Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Or the original, where they, you meet all these new characters, there's a problem, they destroy the Death Star, and that's essentially what happened in that movie.
Yeah.
And then the other two was pandering to I don't know who.
And so in the second so that would have been the 8th movie. I did have some problem with the 8th movie, just as far as it was. There were things that we like. Our ship's running out of fuel. When have we ever worried about fuel in the entire series of Star? Like, they're fueled by magic. Everybody knows that. Like,
some things are just, they don't matter.
Yeah. Or like, oh, they're just outside of us being able to shoot them with our laser beams. What?
Yeah.
Late? You talking about a laser?
Yeah.
Like in
something
space?
that's fiction.
Yeah.
Doesn't have boundaries.
No.
You can do whatever you want with it.
And in space, where there's no friction, there's no, wind resistance, there's no,
And you're telling me, Star Wars guru, that I'm just going to have to take you at your word for it?
Yeah.
No.
And Princess Leia's little, like, Superman back to the ship.
Oh, my gosh.
But that was part aside,
one of the cringiest moments in Star Wars.
That part aside, I enjoyed the last 3 movies. But but so we're gassing up Mandalorian, but then when they had not the most recent episode, but the one before that, where he met what's the girl's name?
Ahsoka.
And they were sitting there talking, and then she was like, "Oh yeah, Grogu." I was like,
"Yeah,
what did she just say?
Yeah,
is this Dragon Ball Z all of a sudden?" Because
there's a lot of names they could have come up with that would have been better.
Bill, that would have been a way better name.
Yes, because in Star Wars there are unusual names like Obi-Wan and Anakin and names that don't exist in our world.
Yeah,
but then there also are some just plain old names like Luke.
Yeah,
the main character of the original Star Wars trilogy, Luke.
Yeah,
and Ben. And I mean, there's some just plain old names.
Yeah, Darth Vader.
Yeah,
heard that 100 times.
Yeah, I mean that's basically,
But yeah, Grogu.
If I was directing that show at that point or writing it, he would have been left nameless.
The kid,
just the child.
I would have been okay with that as well. I would have been okay with that even throughout the entire series. If they find their way back to a planet full of Yodas and then he hands baby Yoda off to his parents and they're just like, and then they scurry off, A-okay.
Yeah. Hopefully they could speak at that point though.
But now I know that Grogu is his name and I hate it.
I know.
Absolutely hate it.
Yeah. That's the biggest disappointment of the show for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can look over it. I can look past it. I mean, everything else is so good that I can forgive that.
I think people will continue to call him Baby Yoda just for the fact that that was a horrible name.
Yeah. And a misconception that people have about Baby Yoda is that it was Yoda. It was just a baby version of Yoda, but Yoda's dead.
Yeah. At this point in the show, he would be dead. Speaking of dead people, there's some stuff going on with football and COVID.
Oh yeah,
nobody's dead yet, but who knows?
Beautiful segue. Your podcasting skills have really come to fruition since the last time I was here.
Let's just wait for the next episodes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and as nerdy as I can be, I love sports and football.
That would have been a way better. Let's take 2 on that.
Okay.
So, as nerdy as you are, you really enjoy sports as well.
I do.
Let's talk about football.
I never played football, but I love watching it on TV.
Did you know that I played every Friday night? I started in high school.
I know that you played every Friday night.
Yeah, I started every Friday night.
Yeah, during halftime.
Yeah, trombone.
Yeah, I knew that.
I got somebody with that. I worked the Super 7, the high school state football championship.
Madison said you were there.
Yeah, I worked that, and there was a bunch of other firemen around, and they were all talking about, oh yeah, I remember when I, was third string, at Gordo High and all this other stuff. And I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, man, I was from Demopolis. Demopolis is a good football school. I started every Friday. They're like, yeah. I was like, yeah. They're like, what position? It was like trombone, and just like the most awkward silence of the night, which was enough payment for me. They didn't even need me. They didn't even need to give me overtime pay after that.
Was it guys that you knew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, football and COVID. Let's talk about it.
So I'll just tell you what's going on, and I'll get your opinion on it.
Okay. Because I know I know absolutely nothing.
So with the COVID situation being the way it was earlier this year, they shut down operations for college football and basketball and everything, just as without really even giving it enough time.
Yeah.
They just shut it. They said, we're shutting it down. It's not going to happen. But then slowly as things progressed and people kind of, are just trying to get over it.
Yeah.
And live a normal life, they said, yeah, we're going to play football. We're going to play basketball. We're going to do sports anyway.
Yeah.
We'll have limited capacity. Whatever makes people happy that are in, that file complaints on things.
Yeah.
Whatever gets them off our back, that's what we'll do, and we'll continue with sports.
Yeah.
So the SEC, which is the conference that Alabama plays in, and other conferences said that they were going to play within their own conference, a 10-game schedule, where they normally play 12 games. So you're really getting a better product, because where they would play like 7 or 8
like kind of
games,
halfway good teams.
Exactly. Then they would play just a few, like 4 crappy teams.
Yeah.
And you just have to put up with it. Well, now they're playing 10 games within their conference, good games. Supposed to be.
Yeah.
So they're delivering. So, some of the best football we've seen in a long time. However, some of the conferences said that they weren't going to play at all. And so they just waited and waited and waited. And finally, enough political, pushback on them. Well, they said they were going to play, but they were only going to play 8 games because they were going to start later than everybody else.
Yeah.
Well,
so they're playing less games than the teams that are currently playing.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're all going to end at the same point, but some teams are going to have played less games than others. Well, one conference in particular is the Big Ten, and they have a school that has a really good football team, Ohio State.
Okay.
And their only chance to have a team win a national championship is Ohio State. And they have a rule within their conference that you have to play 6 games in order to make
be eligible
eligible to compete in their conference championship game. And then, it's kind of a situation where if you're not the conference champion, you might not be considered for the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And in turn, you won't be national champion.
Yeah.
So from one COVID situation after the other, it turns out Ohio State now will end their season with only 5 games. And all SEC schools will end their season with 10 games.
Yeah.
Same thing with other major conferences. They'll all have 10 games, 8 to 10 games, and Ohio State will finish with 5, and they won't be eligible to compete in their conference championship game. So what are you supposed to do with them?
Are they ranked right now?
Yeah, they're ranked in the top 4.
Oh, really? Okay.
But they'll have played half the amount of games that other teams have.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem fair.
Let me get this straight too. Ohio State, that's in Ohio, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The state of Ohio?
Yeah.
That's where the school is.
Okay. Yeah. Got it now.
Yeah.
It makes
Just
it
like
makes more sense
Alabama,
now.
the University of Alabama is in Alabama.
See, I always thought that was a misconception.
Yeah.
I thought that it wasn't.
Like the University of Auburn or Auburn University.
Yeah. It's in the state of Auburn.
Exactly.
Yeah. Got it.
So anyway, wouldn't you, my opinion, and I don't like Ohio State anyway.
Yeah.
But my opinion is that if you've only played half the games, it's not fair to the other teams that have made it.
Yeah, you're more fresh.
Yeah.
But there's also like extenuating circumstances. But so extenuating circumstances aside, what does a national championship really mean to you?
To who?
To the conference. Like, if Ohio State doesn't make it to the national championship, or they don't make it to the playoffs or whatever, what does that really mean for that conference? Does it just mean that
money?
Money? So it's a money thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
So what they're going to do is they're going to change the rule.
See, I would have just made them play like a really crappy team somewhere.
Well, it's hard to do that because it has to be within their conference because they're not playing out of conference games. So there was no other teams eligible.
Yeah. So they're
And
changing
you're
the
going
rules.
you're going to take a game away from somebody else to pander to Ohio State, which is not fair.
Well, and who would be the other team that would play Ohio State in their conference championship?
I don't really know. I'd have to look it up. But
No,
they're going to beat them. I mean,
Did that Christmas tree just turn on?
yeah, it did. I thought it was like on a timer or something.
It must be. So
I just figured it was normal.
I just heard the clicking noise of the.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Looks good.
Oh, I appreciate it. I didn't do anything with it.
I hear you.
But yeah, so I mean, the only way that I could see that as like something that is they would get what they deserve is if they lost the conference championship
Yeah. So they'll end
to
up,
a team that's played
they'll
more than 5 games.
They changed the rule today to where you only have to have 5 games to get into the conference championship.
Are they going to change it back after this season?
Probably.
Yeah. That would make sense.
So they changed the rules for them, which was whatever. And the SEC, where Alabama is, has done everything they can to make sure that all teams have got their 10 games in, even if they had to move some things around. And so,
Like the LSU game.
exactly,
Yeah.
LSU, Florida, Alabama, they've all had games get canceled or postponed,
They replayed
and
them.
they've rescheduled them for later
Yeah.
and made it work for everybody.
Sounds like Ohio State doesn't need to be in the running this year.
No, and they probably are one of the 4 best teams. But
Are there only 4 other teams in the conference?
that's what I'm saying.
Or could they not have scheduled more games, or they just don't want to?
They waited too long to start their season. Alabama had already played 4 or 5 games before Ohio State even started.
But so, granted, Ohio State started later. I would imagine that the NCAA would have something to say about the national championship and when that is played.
They do.
So there could be time enough for
It's New Year's Day is when the first playoff game is held.
Yeah.
Both of them are on New Year's Day, and then a week later, 10 days later, or something like that.
Yeah, they can't really move that though, because you've already got tickets sold, you've already got stadiums booked,
I guess.
all that
And
stuff.
it's just a tradition thing.
Yeah.
They always do it on New Year's Day.
Well, I think that Ohio State should just go kick rocks then,
I agree.
because
Screw them.
yeah, you don't deserve to be with the best if you haven't played the best.
No.
And
justice would be that if they cheat they allow them to compete in the championship or the playoff, even though they haven't, played the same amount of games that everybody else has. Justice would be that they lose. And like bad.
Yeah. That would be the only, but at this point, who's going to beat them? If we don't even know who the other team in the Big Ten is, then they're probably not good enough to beat anybody. Along with sports, football stuff, outside of you being nerdy, is something that you are kind of nerdy about: boxing.
Yeah.
You're a aluminum glove winner, tinfoil, Golden Glove champ of.
It was a long time ago.
10 pounds and under. Is that what it was?
I was a little kid, but
So
I boxed when I was in high school.
So you boxed when you're in high school. How do you feel about the state of boxing right now, as far as don't care about WBRC or whatever?
Yeah.
But the Mike Tyson Legends League or whatever, that whole hard sparring that they did the other night.
Yeah.
We can talk about the Paul brothers, who I know outside of YouTube, I know nothing about. I've watched the one fight highlights with Nate Robinson.
Yeah.
And that was it. I don't know if they're any good. I don't know if they're trash. Speak on that a little bit, because that'll give me more context to what I feel like.
Well, the state of boxing in general, I feel like, as in recent years, it's just been going up.
Yeah.
when it comes to actual professional athlete boxers at the top level of boxing itself, those guys have been phenomenal to watch. Like even Deontay, up until recently when he got beat, which the guy that beat him is probably the best heavyweight in our recent memory.
Yeah.
So
do you want to? I'll cut this or keep this, but Deontay's excuses. Do you want to talk about that?
We can.
I mean, I don't know if it's like.
It's not a sensitive
I doubt that he's going to
subject.
hear about it, but like,
No. I mean, if he heard that I was talking about him, then
he'd be like, Heath who?
yeah, probably.
Yeah. But I felt like a lot of the excuses. I'm not a big boxer guy. I have not watched boxing until Deontay. I watch UFC.
Yeah.
I watch MMA stuff. I watch Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but not a big fan of boxing. Outside of the big stuff and Deontay. But Deontay had a lot of excuses coming out, and it
really made me sad.
it looked like he lost the fight. Like he just lost.
Yeah.
Like that was all there was to it. But he said, my gear was too heavy as I was walking out, which it might have been. It might have been super heavy.
Yeah.
But then
it could have been. I mean,
it could have been. And then there was a couple of other.
Yeah. He said
like
that
somebody pepper sprayed him or something. I don't know.
He said that his gear was too heavy. That was one of his excuses. He later said that Fury wore his gloves in a particular way. Like, so a boxing glove has a part that your hand goes in that's padded, and then a part that covers your wrist, kind of about midway up your forearm is where it stops. And he said that Fury stuck his hand into the glove until his hand was in the wrist and then taped it off.
So he was just punching him with his bare hand, essentially.
Exactly. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And there's some pictures that look a little weird. Like he's hitting him with the wrist of the glove, and the fist part of the glove is like flopped back.
I did see that.
And okay, give him credit. Maybe that's true.
Well,
But then he said that one of his coaches, Mark Breland, spiked his water with muscle relaxers to make him tired.
is that the guy from here, or is that the other guy?
That's the guy. He's from New York.
Okay. So I saw the pictures of what it looked like where the glove was bent back or whatever. And for a second, I was like, okay, yeah, if he's hitting him bare knuckle, that's different than hitting somebody with a boxing glove.
Yeah.
But as a boxer, I don't know this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you would know the difference between somebody in the moment hitting you with their fist and hitting you with a boxing glove? Could you feel the difference, do you think?
I would assume that it would hurt worse.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I've never been hit with bare knuckles before, so I don't know.
If that was happening at the time, I feel like somebody could have said something. Like,
That's something that I don't know how it would make it to the ring.
Yeah. Well,
because there's a lot of commissioners involved and people watching the hand wrapping and the glove putting on.
Even if something happened outside of that and you're hitting me with your bare fist versus you're hitting me with a padded surface, I'm going to go, hey, can somebody check him real quick? Let's just check.
Yeah.
To see if he's hitting me with his hand. Because it feels like he's hitting me with his hand.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't either. And I'm just kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt on that one because there is actual pictures that they don't prove it.
Yeah.
But it looks suspicious.
Yeah.
And so I'll give him credit for it because,
Yeah. Well, and
I like the guy, so.
I like him too. No ill will here,
sure.
Deontay. Please don't come punch me.
Yeah.
Because I would die.
I have ill will towards no professional fighters. Because.
Okay. I'm calling you out, Chuck Liddell.
At this point, you could beat Chuck Liddell.
I don't know. I don't know. But so, how do you feel about the Paul brothers? Have you seen them in action, or
so
do they look like they know what they're doing?
I've never paid for a Paul brothers fight. However, I have seen them.
Yeah.
And I think if me and you wanted to have a professional boxing match between the two of us and enough people were going to pay to watch it, whose fault is it that we're fighting?
Yeah. The people on the outside.
Yeah. But if there's a market for this to happen and we take advantage of it, it's it's fair.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it should that should be talked about in and of itself, and professional boxing as a sport.
Which these are not considered professional fights though either.
Yeah, the Pauls are.
The Pauls are?
Yeah, that was the youngest Paul,
Yeah.
Jake. That was Jake Paul's second actual professional fight
Against a person who is not a professional boxer.
Well, he is now, technically. That he had a professional boxing match with a
Wow.
professional boxer
Yeah.
who had his first fight. And the way they can get away with that is because they're both very inexperienced, technically. Even though when it comes to Jake Paul,
Yeah.
I mean, he trains to be a professional boxer. Like, that's
Yeah.
what he does now.
Yeah.
So when he fights some, retired basketball player,
He's going to get.
he's going to win.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
his technique's not bad. He looks like a good amateur boxer.
Okay. And at this point, he could progress into a really good boxer.
I don't think so. It's too late.
You think? Okay. So that's something that has to be done earlier
It's
in life.
been done before, like
Well,
Deontay.
yeah.
But it's different at heavyweight.
Gotcha.
The athletic abilities that you need are not as...
You got to hit hard and take a punch.
Yeah, there's like... And this is not a knock on Deontay, but if Deontay's skill set, if you took him as he is and moved him down to a lighter weight class, he wouldn't be a champion.
Really?
He never would have been. His
Yeah.
skill set's just not good enough. He has some freakish physical abilities that
Yeah.
allowed him to get to where he was. And he also had, good training and coaching to help along the way. I mean, he tied Muhammad Ali's record for most consecutive title defenses for the WBC
Yeah.
heavyweight championship.
There's something to be said about that.
Absolutely. And I don't think he's the most skilled heavyweight boxer to ever live.
Yeah.
He might be the most devastating knockout puncher in heavyweights ever.
Yeah.
And he knew that was his skill, so that's what he trained for.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of one punch knockouts, and I don't think he only won one fight where he didn't knock the guy out.
So the Paul brother versus, is it Evander Holyfield, or who's he fighting?
No, that would Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, that's the new news that has come out lately, that Floyd Mayweather is going to have an exhibition with Logan Paul,
Which is the older brother.
that's the older brother,
The one that-
and he's had an amateur fight and a professional fight, both against the same guy, but they were both YouTubers that wanted to fight each other. So they set it up, and people paid for it. Obviously,
I think this should just be its own thing.
It's a
It
league
should be
unto itself.
Celebrity boxing.
Exactly.
Like the old TV Celebrity Deathmatch TV show.
Exactly.
Just like, hey, if you want to fight, and hey, if you want to do MMA, we can accommodate that.
Yeah.
Because like Pride, they're just in a boxing ring in
Yeah.
Pride. So like, hey, let's just
change the rules.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Now,
But
when
should it be?
Here's what makes it a little weird is that they had legitimate boxing matches on that
Yeah.
card
Yeah, yeah.
on the pay-per-view. Like, you got to see Jake Paul, YouTube celebrity, and Nate Robinson, former NBA dunk champion, fight on
Yeah.
the same card that you got to see an exhibition bout with Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. And you also got to see legitimate contenders,
Yeah.
boxing contenders.
The whole Mike Tyson fight thing was just, to me, felt like a sham. Like, we watched it live,
Yeah, I did too.
and at the end of the fight, like, so earlier in
the
the
draw,
week,
you mean?
yeah,
Yeah, that's...
which earlier in the week there were two conflicting stories that came out. One that said, "Hey, this is just an exhibition. Essentially, there's not going to be a winner or a loser." And then there was Mike Tyson's group that came out and said, "No, actually, there will be TKOs, there will be
Yeah.
knockouts, there will
Who
be."
wants to watch a
Nobody.
sparring match?
And I think that's what they figured out. I think they went, nobody's going to watch this, because there was a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
But the the younger Paul brother,
Yeah.
he is fighting, or he fought Nate Robinson, right? This is the new, like, this has been like yesterday and today that this has happened. So you might not have heard about this.
Okay.
He has been like on a press tour, essentially, like going around and like being interviewed by these, popular people to like
Okay.
promote.
Jake Paul has.
Yeah.
Okay.
Promote like, hey, we're doing the boxing thing, catch the next fight, trying to hype it up. Because he is a well-known person.
Yeah. And this may be his main source of income now. I don't know.
Well, I think YouTube's probably still pretty up there.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know what YouTube people make at that level.
I think he makes quite a bit.
Okay. We'll just do that.
Just seeing his houses and all this.
Yeah.
But there's also I could see where he's getting bored with that because he's been doing that just for years.
Beat up old celebrities and
I
make
agree.
YouTube videos.
I agree. But so he's been going on these press tours, right? Mm-hmm. There was I can't remember I think it was Vice or somebody like that. They were interviewing him, and it was two African American ladies.
Okay.
And they were both asking him, so a white man knocks a black man out. Is this not racism? To which his first was like, no, it's a sport, we're
Okay.
And then the second lady asked the exact same question later on in the interview, and he was like, all right, guys, this is a dumb question. Like, why are you even asking me this question? But it's like they were dead serious about the entire thing.
That's sad.
It is sad. It's sad that we've devolved into everything has to be racist now.
Yeah. Why can't two people not like each other and that have nothing to do with race?
Yeah. No, well, and they didn't even say anything about like, oh, we know that you guys don't get along. We know that you're not like friends with each other.
Yeah.
It was just you were fighting and a white man knocks a black man out. Is that not racism? Imagine, just for a second, imagine that the roles were reversed and it was some white ladies who were interviewing Nate Robinson, and they were like, black man knocks a white man out. Like Nate Robinson wins. They're like, a black man knocks a white man out. Are you not racist? It's like that would never fly in today's climate.
No.
And it's crazy how it's devolved into like, this is a sport. Like, so now if, a predominantly white team will say like all of a sudden the Celtics get like a 78% they're white guys on the team.
Okay.
And then they go against like the Oklahoma City Thunder and they are a predominantly black team by like 68% or something like that. And then the white team beats the black team.
They're racist.
It's racist.
Yeah.
It wasn't that one person had more skill than the other person. One person was devoted more to the craft.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's, oh, you beat the black guy. You're a racist now.
That shouldn't, I mean, that's stupid. That's even a conversation.
I agree. But in what way can you defend yourself versus that? I mean, you can say that you're not racist all day, but these people,
I don't think you should be, you don't have to defend yourself against idiot people that.
well, I mean, if you're in an interview, like you're just gonna be like, no, and then just move on. I mean,
I would just tell them that
that's a silly
I'm not
question.
going to stoop down to answer a question like that and just ask them to either continue on with the interview or get out there and leave.
I agree, but it's crazy that it's even devolved into that happening now. Like, I mean, that's a conversation
in sports, of any sport for years and years now. Mm-hmm. There have been black people and white people competing against each other, and
nobody's ever said anything.
Everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
And it's people like that who fuel the life blood of racism.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it wasn't for people acting like that and saying dumb things like that, then racism would fizzle out eventually.
Well, I mean, even like the last Deontay fight, what was that guy's name?
Tyson Fury. He's white.
Same exact situation. Nobody was asking.
Yeah, well,
Tyson
he's not
Fury,
from America,
but he's white. Also, this is particularly interesting too. There is I think it was New York, or I'm gonna get this right because I don't want to mess it up. But it was in regards to racism and all this other stuff is by this group of people. So it was Washington School District.
Okay.
Now says that Asians are not students of color and now will be counted with white students. So now we're doing the exact thing that everybody has talked about for years of you're just like whitewashing. Like you're saying like, oh, well, no, I like, because it used to be like, oh, I don't see color. And that was fine for a while.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, you don't see color. So you don't see my heritage. You don't see my cultural, the things that culturally I enjoy because I am this way because of the ethnicity that I am. And now we're doing it to Asian people who had about as rough of a time as African Americans did.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah, nobody cares.
No.
Because that's not the narrative.
Yeah.
But it's just funny to me that like, oh, now it's, now Asian people are not a minority. You're just white. Like if I squint my eyes, not a racist thing. If I squint my eyes and look at you and you're Asian, you look close enough to white that you're just a white person.
Yeah.
Like, should light-skinned black people also be considered white?
If they're if you can squint your eyes
and you can't tell
the difference.
Yeah. Maybe.
That's I feel like that's the gauge that we should.
This is all pretty much a comedy podcast, but like also kind of serious. It's interesting.
If there's any group of people that should be outraged by not getting their way due to race, is Jewish people.
Yeah.
Like straight up Jerusalem Jews, because historically the most oppressed people of all time, not only the Holocaust were the Jews persecuted, but in biblical times by the Egyptians.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, so if you want to talk about people being done wrong, also let's talk about Pearl Harbor, or not Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima.
Oh yeah,
where we just went.
Yeah, and that was white. That was white
people,
versus white, apparently.
Essentially, yeah. Now it would be. Yeah.
Like if you, white versus white.
Yeah. From the plane as I'm dropping the atomic bomb to kill thousands of people, they're pretty much white. Yeah. Like we did them dirty by dropping a dirty bomb down there, and now they're just. I mean, they're not oppressed at all. They have never
Team
been
America,
oppressed.
I'm thankful for the win, but that was there's to do it that way.
Yeah,
they just didn't know back then what that thing would do.
Oh yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, because they were having like American soldiers within a mile or so that they were just like.
Oh yeah, there's some hilarious videos of nuclear bomb testing from where they'll drop the bomb off in the desert somewhere and there'll be soldiers in eyesight of the bomb going off, like watching it, and then they jump in a hole and the shockwave will go past them, and those people died young from cancer for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And this is all too, like, I wouldn't say a lot of this stuff is necessarily what we do or don't believe. This is just like to preface a lot of stuff. Like, you know, if somebody, you know, has an argument that says like, oh, this is why that was racist, or this is why this is racist, I'm completely like ears wide open to hearing it.
You talking about our conversation right now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If somebody said like, hey, this is how Nate Robinson versus Jake Paul or Logan Paul or whatever was racist.
Yeah.
Is because Logan Paul said this beforehand, like, you know, hey, I completely, this is just.
But then that would be the reason why it was racist, not the fact that he knocked him out.
Yeah. But I mean, so my point with a lot of these like things that I'm bringing up is things to talk about.
Yeah.
Things to talk about with people that are minorities, because not just like African American people, but also Asian people. Like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? You know, but all of this is just conversation starters. I wouldn't say any of this stuff out of, I don't say any of this stuff out of like, this is how it is, or like, this is, you know, we should all just whatever. It's like, no, this is just conversation starters. That's just to cover my butt. Yeah. Because
I mean, I have an optimistic outlook on people of our generation for the most part. It won't be many generations from now where I feel like racism will pretty much just be historical.
I really do hope so.
It won't be of like actively happening.
Yeah. I would hope.
And like we get a lot of criticisms in the South for being a like overly racist population, but I mean, not in my circles of people. I mean, older generations maybe, but the young people now, they're what social media has done and the internet connecting everybody together from all over the world and all over the country and different nationalities and races and what have you.
I think part of it too is that we've been able to have more dialogue about it than and the ability to like express our emotions about it, express our ideas about it, express facts about it, because that's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is like facts. The fact of the situation is this, or the fact of this situation, like bringing like numbers and stuff to the table, which in some circles doesn't fly because they're like very emotion based.
Well, to go back to you saying that these two ladies that were interviewing Jake Paul said that it was a racist act for a white man to knock out a black man. Well, they will get their comeuppance here in a few weeks or months or whatever when Logan Paul, Jake's older brother, fights Floyd Mayweather.
It gets because the mess knocked out of him.
I don't care how big and strong Logan Paul is.
Yeah.
To have little to no boxing experience. I mean, I am a 26-year-old, 180-pound white man who hasn't boxed competitively in
why don't you brag about it?
Probably 10 years, maybe not quite that long, maybe 8 years.
Yeah.
And I stand a better chance against Floyd Mayweather than Logan Paul does.
I can see that. Because you've had more experience.
Absolutely. I mean, I would need a few months to get back into the swing of things.
Who wouldn't?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe steroids, though.
Yeah, I'm sure that. Or go the the Mike Tyson route and just smoke a little weed before the fight.
Yeah.
Because he admitted to that, which would probably be a great way to box. Like lowers your pain tolerance your
anxiety.
And your anxiety. Yeah. You just go in there and knock some dudes out. But there is no way that Logan Paul stands a chance.
No. Conor McGregor got played with, and he's one of the better MMA boxing type fighters that the UFC or any MMA has.
Yeah.
And he didn't stand a chance against Mayweather. There are people who box their entire lives and are world champion class level boxers, and they didn't stand a chance against Mayweather.
But how many YouTube subscribers do those people have? Because that's ultimately what's going to win the fight.
There were people that Mayweather beat that never had a YouTube subscriber.
Well, that's why they didn't win.
Yeah.
If they would have had more YouTube subscribers,
that's true.
They could have, hit him harder or whatever. I would also like to sit down with either one of the Paul brothers, mainly Logan, because he's the one that's going to be fighting Floyd Mayweather. Like, just sit him down in a room and just hear the God honest truth. Like, no hype, no this is
no cameras, just alone.
And go, like, what do you think? What are you thinking right now?
Hey.
Yeah. And I mean,
thinking he's about to get paid.
That's probably, but I'm going to tell you right now, it would have to be a big chunk of money for me to get in a fight and get in a ring with Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, but not him.
But what about you? Would it not be a big number? It would have to be a big number
with Floyd.
Yeah, not really.
What's a big number?
$1 million.
I mean, I'd like that.
Yeah.
I'd do it for less.
How much? What's your number?
Like the minimum amount that I would take to basically be knocked out by Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. In a round, because that's about how long it would probably last.
If he really pressed it, he could knock me out.
Yeah,
whenever he wanted to. But I think if he fights me like he fights everybody else that he fights, and just takes his time and plays defense, I mean, that would be optimal for my dignity. Mm-hmm. But even then, I mean, it's Mayweather. Who cares if you get knocked out? Anyway, my price though is. It pay off my house.
So $100,000.
I'd do it for $100,000 probably. I mean, that wouldn't pay off my house, but I'd do it for that.
I would probably do it if
$100,000
somebody
is
was
a lot
standing
of
there with
money.
a briefcase full.
I've been knocked out for less, for nothing.
Speaking of knocked out, I sent you the video of the UFC fight this past weekend.
Yeah, after you sent me that text, I looked on it. I looked at the
that guy that got knocked out. So if you haven't seen the video, I don't even remember who the two fighters were.
It was neither one of mine knew.
Yeah, well, so
kind of up and comers.
what happened was one of them got the other one inside their guard, which if you don't know anything about MMA, one guy wraps his legs around the other guy while they were on the ground. The other guy stands up, which if you are any good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the second that somebody stands up, you get out of you let go of them with your guard. Because the
At least
very
don't let 'em
next
pick you
thing,
up.
yeah, the very next thing that they're gonna do is slam you on the ground.
Yeah.
And he got knocked the heck out, man. I mean, there was a commercial break, and then they came back, and he still wasn't awake yet.
Well,
they were like, he's moving his feet, so that's a good sign.
The guy, he must have just not been very good.
He
I
must
don't know
not
where they
have, 'cause
found him
22 seconds into the fight.
So he had the
Had
he
him
had
in his guard.
he had him in the guard.
Yeah.
And the guy picked him up.
Yeah.
And then he had time to take his forearm, and put it around his neck.
Oh, he walked him around the...
And then slammed him. So he framed him up with his forearm.
Yeah.
And essentially, he, with his whole body weight, slammed his face into the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the back of his head into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so watching the fight, he stood him up, and then he walked him. He walked him for a good 2 or 3. I was sitting in my seat going, well, he's going to let go at some point. He's going to let go of that guard. He's got to. And then the guy framed him up.
Yeah.
And I think even in that guy's head, still he was like, surely this guy's about to let go.
I think
And then he didn't, and he was like, sucks for you,
the
bro.
guy who got slammed must have been thinking, there's no way he can slam me hard enough to knock me out.
He was wrong.
But
He was so wrong.
he was bad wrong. That
He
was
got
sad.
knocked out so hard.
And coming from, I've never been in boxing in a fight. I've never been knocked out, but I've been around people who have been. I know the consequences of head trauma, and concussions and those sorts of things.
TBIs and all that stuff now.
Even now, as a paramedic,
Yeah.
Knowing some of the things about what the brain does and getting it hit over and over and over again, what it can do to you, which is probably why I act the way I do now. But it makes me sad to see
That guy get knocked out that
guy
bad.
gets knocked out that bad for nothing
Yeah.
when he could have easily avoided it.
Yeah, he could have easily gotten out of that. And there was, as he was walking him, you could see the guy let go of the guard, put his feet back, put him back in guard. It was almost like he thought about it. He was like, yeah, I should, no, you know what? I'm going to stay right here.
And you're a jiu-jitsu guy. From a tactical standpoint,
You have nothing to gain from that.
yeah, that's what I'm.
There is no way that you're coming out of that not getting slammed.
Yeah, and what from a standing position in guard, face to face, there's no submissions to be had.
No, and if that guy was any good at jiu-jitsu, he wouldn't have let him stand up in the first place.
He would have locked a leg or something.
Yeah,
kept
he
him
would
from.
have. Yeah, he would have done something, or loosen your guard a little bit. Even let the guy stand up,
snatch an ankle or something.
snatch an ankle, get a leg lock, get an ankle lock, something.
Yeah,
But for you just to I've been slammed one time doing jiu-jitsu, and that was in my first week.
yeah.
I was like, oh, I know about UFC. This is cool. I can do this. And this was 10 years ago. Get the guy in my guard. He immediately stands up. I was like, I've still got the dominant position. And then he goes, boom, on mats. And I was like, that's never happening again. That is never happening again.
I'm surprised that happened at all. They allowed.
Well, it was when we were rolling, and there was a couple of other students that were doing it and stuff. And then I think after that, even the instructor was like, all right, nobody slam anybody.
You were the example.
I was the example. Yeah. It was a new jiu-jitsu place. Their first week. They were like, all right, so maybe we should set some rules. No slamming each other on
That's
the ground.
always trouble.
Yeah. But it was a good week. It was a good podcast. We we're at an hour and 1 minute now.
Okay.
So
Is that usually the time?
that's usually about the time.
Okay.
Somewhere around an hour.
right.
We had some other stuff we were going to talk about.
I mean,
but,
my best, I was saving it.
oh gosh.
So
There's something you're saving?
that's okay.
Was it something that we said we were going to talk about?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
No, I don't have anything else planned necessarily. But if an hour is good, then I'm good.
Yeah, we're good. I think we should start a fight podcast because
Yeah.
we talked about fighting for probably 75% of this.
I love
But
it.
I really do enjoy it.
Yeah. And we have different perspective on things.
You're a boxer. I'm started jiu-jitsu.
Well, I mean,
I've watched
you did
some
it years
fights.
ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I haven't boxed in probably as long as you haven't done any jiu-jitsu up until this point.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you forget about it.
Yeah. No, I remembered a lot of stuff. I've caught some people in like some submissions that they're white belts also, and I'm a white belt, and so I catch them in something that like I learned a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they're just like, whoa, it's like, okay, I know I'm the man.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That's not it at all.
You got to get it while you can get it.
That's true. That's true. Because then I go up against a blue belt and he just like taps me left and right. Just one submission after the other.
Yeah.
And I'm just like laying there.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like a rag doll, essentially.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was a good hour and 2 minutes.
Well, it's good to see you again.
Yeah. I'm glad I got to see you.
31 episodes later.
Yeah. Lee didn't want to make it for this one.
Yeah.
He was just like, I can't stand being around that guy.
You know, Lee, if you're hearing this, what's up?
We're going to fight.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here in your seat. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Absolutely nothing. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening. Leave us a comment, subscribe, share it with some friends. And we appreciate you listening as always. Check back next week. Maybe Lee will be better. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just talk about fighting again next week.
Hey, I'm available. I'm not begging or nothing, but I do just live down the street. So.
That's true. All right. We'll see y'all next week.